All right, like I said, this is going to be quite the presentation today. We've got a lot to share. So I'm going to jump right in. We'll get out the upcoming events, boring stuff out of the way, and then, yeah, and then hear what's up with the Registry, Science, and Foundation team. So share my screen again. Here we go. Alrighty, this is the upcoming community calendar events. Hopefully this is becoming normal by now. Regenerati News Hour next week. 2 weeks from today is Product and Protocol. And then the next week is Regenerati News Hour. And then 4 weeks from today is the next Registry, Science, and Foundation community call. So if you enjoy this one, be sure to tune in 4 weeks from today for the next one. Whoop. All right, and then today's agenda. Yeah, let's not even read this. Let's just get right into it. Becca, is this you?
No, but before we jump in actually to the registry, can we go back one slide, Sari?
Sure, sorry.
I want to make sure for any on the call or for those listening to a recording, I want to have everyone know the first step in Hylo, because we're officially using Hylo as gathering space for Registry, Science, Foundation, all the things, and wanting part of this call to be a demo. So to start that off, we want to make sure everybody has a login. I know that a few on this call are already in, so just in case, the link is in the chat. So starting that off, but we can jump into Registry now.
Okay, cool. Sorry.
Good. And I think Tika's going to start this one off.
Awesome. Tika.
Yeah, I can do this. So check out the Regen Registry guide. Our Science and Registry team have been working hard on updates in that. Added some updated flowcharts in methodology, credit class, and project development. New chapters and templates, credit class creation. There's a downloadable template, project plan, there's a downloadable template, as well as monitoring reports. These are templates. All of our folks are very unique, and so use as fits best for you. This is, as you know, Regen, we are not top down, we are bottom up. These are meant to be guides and to be tailored to your needs. And also in this, and following along with Becca's comment on Hylo, we are really encouraging folks to read through the guides, give us feedback, and let us know where you need more information, helping to craft it as a community built guide. Obviously, we're coming at it from one side with a certain amount of user feedback, but always great to boost that again with actual user participation. So really looking forward to having that Hylo be an active space that we will check into and work to continue to build the guide. Some more information will be coming on some credit issuance chapters, verification chapters, and then also we'll be working later in the spring on updating the old program guide to kind of more of a program rules and regulations that will live within the overall guide. Yeah.
Very cool. All right, do we want to take questions about that, or do we want to go into the next slide? What do you guys, did you guys have plans on that? No. Any questions for Tika on this? Seems very exciting. Have you guys had anybody use any of the downloadable templates yet? Or, I mean, have you tested them?
I believe they have been downloaded, yes, and we're moving in, like Howard, I've shared them with Howard, and Ecometric. So yeah, some of the folks that are really starting to move into project registration with us we've shared those with them. So looking forward to some feedback from them as well.
Cool. Alrighty then. Hylo updates.
Sweet. So got some things. We've been really intentionally working on what the space should be. So for any who's first joining, Hylo is a community collaboration platform that is stewarded by a group called Terran. They're really building it out in the spirit of pro-social, and we're using it for Regen Registry as a dedicated gathering space to connect with the Regen team in a more public, open way, not as siloed in emails, and to connect the community more naturally and organically. So folks can come in and find relevant topics, find different folks working on methodologies, ask questions. We've got a lot of different things in mind, but it's really meant to be that gathering space. And so the things that we've been working on, I'm going to share my screen. If I could, I have permissions from Queen Sari to share my screen.
Sorry, yes, 1 second.
Thank you. All of this is awfully jumbly if I don't show you, because it looks really cool too.
Okay, you should be able to share.
Sweet.
Now.
Awesome. All right, so we're looking all together at the Regen Registry homepage in Hylo. And so the things that we've been working on are the types of groups. So if I go here to groups, you see a lot of different things happening. And
sorry, I'm still seeing Sari's screen share.
Oh, are you?
There we go.
There you go.
You can see me now. Okay, great. Well, then I'll go back. Thanks for that, Austin. All right, we're going back. We're in the main page. And within the sidebar here, there are a couple of different things you can do, but one of them that we've been really thinking about are all of the groups within Regen Registry. And so all of these colored images are methodology topics like agroforestry, ocean methodologies, biodiversity. So those are those groups there, like being able to pop in those. And the other groups that are with black and white icons are related to the registry program. So like Tika was saying, for the guide, having this discussion space for newly upgraded chapters, questions or ideas that people have around the guide to really make it something kind of a fruit of the community. So that's one example. Another is public comment discussion. So the methodologies that come through public comment. So that's an exciting thing around Hylo that we've been working on. And we've also been looking a lot at the resources that are needed to make this inviting and accessible to everyone. And so we have we've been working on a community participation guide and a video tutorial, and those are going to be coming out in our newsletter here in a week. So look forward to those to kind of invite folks in and have them feel like they can get comfortable in a new platform. And hopefully this will be a platform where it'll have all the needs accounted for, so you won't feel like you have to bop around to a lot of different ones. And then the things that are next that we're working on around Hylo are how projects show up there. So upcoming methodologies that are being developed. So everything is kind of all within that space. We're working on different functionality around voting, trying to think about how we can use simple style voting mechanisms within Hylo to start exercising that governance muscle within our community. Feedback around all of this is always welcome. You can give it on Hylo. And at the end of this community call, we're going to do a short demo and live poll to test the waters a bit. So that's all for now.
Okay, so do we have any questions for Becca about Hylo? I think we're moving there. All right, I think we're going to do more demo later. So let's do next slide. Science updates. Giselle?
All right, I can
Oh, sorry.
Ned's coming.
Ned.
I can jump in here, and I'll start with environmental stewardship, and just to take off the Hylo thing, there is an environmental stewardship group in Hylo, and it's pretty active. We've got 81 members. So it's, we're trying to get that to be a great platform for discussing things. So hopefully that will continue to pick up. I think there's a lot of promise there. I just wanted to note that this morning, we had a environmental stewardship community meeting. They happen also on the fourth Tuesday of every month. The times vary we alternate between 9:30 a.m. and noon Eastern time. So this one was 9:30. Next month will be at noon. And if you're interested in this and you're not getting invitations, just let me know and I'll get you on the mailing list so you get the invitations to join. The Fibershed, which is the sheep grazing in vineyards methodology work, is continuing, still waiting for reviewer feedback. I did just recently get the data from the previous grazing season, which happens after grape harvest. This is in Northern California, so after the grape harvest there, until the leaves start coming out, and that's usually in March or something like that. So I'm working with those data, and one of the things I'm trying to do is figure out ways to adjust this kilo sheep hour credit to account for varying grazing rates, because different sheep graze at different rates, between sex and breed and age. The lambs are going to breed, or their lambs are going to be eating much slower than, say, an adult ram. So anyway, that's something that I'm going into, just looking for patterns and trying to figure out ways to deal with it. Last month, I mentioned the graph database work that we're doing in Regen, and right now we're expanding that out to more of a community effort. I think everybody in Regen right now is really focused on just getting credits on chain. So instead of having it become a focus project within Regen, we thought it'd be better to kind of get it out into the community, and there are a few other groups that are doing something very similar. So it makes sense to kind of collaborate on this and make it a community effort. So that's developing slowly, but it is developing. The other thing I'll mention is that working with Giselle to better understand and also create workflows to document uncertainty in the soil organic carbon maps that we're making, this soil organic stock maps that we're creating. Uncertainty is becoming, well, it is important. It's always been important, but I think it's becoming more visible in carbon markets and also other markets as well. So I think this is a good time to really get a better understanding of uncertainty. And if anybody out there has a reasonable amount of experience measuring uncertainty, please let me know. I'm not an expert in this, but I've worked with it in the past, and I'm getting up to speed on it. But if other people have ideas, let me know. And if you're interested in what I'm doing, just feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to share the details if uncertainty type stuff is of interest. But I don't know if Giselle, if you wanted to just mention a little bit about what you're up to.
Yeah, I wanted to bring also some questions to the community to see if they have ideas or can reach out with some suggestions. So currently I'm working on the upgrades or the updates of the methodology Carbon Plus for grazing systems, which is focused on soil organic carbon and other co-benefits. So we got extremely great reviews from 3 reviewers, one focusing more on soils, the other one on greenhouse gas accounting, and the other one very focused on the digital soil mapping and the GIS analysis. So really great feedback. And some of the feedback we realize is kind of complex to address ourselves, because we are trying to balance between making the protocol too complex for people to be able to implement it and scale up the implementation. And also we are talking at the same time with the ones implementing the methodology, for instance, in Argentina. And we find out that some of the recommendations, for instance, on bulk density sampling, are non-feasible because of the soil types and the textures. So for instance, sampling in every single point that we mark with the GPS, and we go and we take all the soil cores for the lab, then the problem with bulk density is that you need to go deep, and when you have you need to extract a core that it's very precise in volume, and maybe they don't have the tools, or the soil is too dry and hard to penetrate with the tools. So it's very time consuming, super labor intensive, and it's not feasible to do that for maybe 70 or 80 points in the field. So I'm trying to see how to generate maybe the space for an open discussion to integrate soil scientists to hear what land stewards or the project developers are also seen as a barrier for implementation. And I think that this would be something valuable if we kind of find out how to better frame these conversations or discussions. Maybe it's in Hylo, maybe it's more in the shape of a webinar, an open webinar. And so I'm trying to discover what's the best format for people, for the different stakeholders that are involved. So thinking, you know, that we have scientists, we have project developers, we have methodology developers, and they all need to talk, and we need to find a middle ground for this to make it useful. So yeah, reach out to me if you have any suggestions or ideas for the right format. We might also have a separate conversation, maybe in Spanish, and a different one in English if we want to get all the feedback from the different folks. But yeah, I wanted to open this question for the community. I think we're done on science, right? Does anyone have any questions or ideas now to share? Otherwise, we can move on, I think.
All right. If nobody's got anything, let's do some foundation talk. Austin, this is you.
Yeah, you can back up one. I think the skip forward one.
Oh, my apologies. There we go.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Austin. This is my first time doing one of these community calls, so I'm happy to be here and see you all. I'm not exactly sure what's the best way of doing this, so I gathered some different active things that are happening from different corners of the foundation and put them together. So it's not necessarily meant to be a comprehensive portrait, but sort of some things that are moving. And there seems to be a lot of themes around the process of integrating Hylo into the process of socializing and more sort of from the ground up governing and getting feedback around the processes and patterns that we're developing here at Regen. So I'll start with this larger idea of the Regen Commons and then talk about some stuff with the code of conduct and then focus on a particular initiative. It's not the only one, but one I can show. Yeah, and I put some emojis in there to keep it light. Okay, you can go forward. Thanks, Siri. So for those who aren't familiar, I think many on the call already are, that one of the core functions of the foundation is to bring founders level stake to different regenerative communities. So to own and govern the network. And we have steadily been doing that process over the last year. And what was the first cohort of the community staking DAO. And we're in the final phases that transfer might even happen today with the latest community staking DAO candidate, which is called Smart Agro, which is working in regenerative agricultural solutions, primarily around rice farming in Cambodia, stewarded by a point of contact named Mark Eberly. And they're interested in amongst many things, creating methodologies specifically around this fire region and this form of agriculture, but also introducing models of gamification and sort of learning modules for grassroots communities to understand what regenerative ecosystem science looks like and how that benefits them in the long run. Yeah, it's one of the primary partners, the first partner from the CS DAO that's in Southeast Asia. So we're really excited for them. And here's a picture on the right for like a training day that Smart Agro put together with local rice farmer cooperatives in Cambodia. Go forward. In case you all didn't know this, there's a number of pieces that are coming out pretty soon. I'll point out one in just a second. That's happening on mirror.xyz, which is a Web3 native publishing platform. You can do a lot of cool things with it, like make your publications NFTs, be able to launch sort of polls and interactivity. And the foundation has an account that we've been working on pretty steadily over time. And in the next couple of months, we have a number of larger pieces that are going out. Some of them a bit more applied and some of them more like think pieces. So we publish there, and you can find us at regenfoundation.mir.xyz. It's a really cool medium to think through decentralized publishing related to the work that Regen does. So whether it's specifically related to regenerative ag or carbon credit markets or climate finance more broadly, Mir could be an interesting outlet for the larger ecosystem to explore, and Foundation is definitely jumping into that space. Yeah, so check it out. In particular, like many of the other comments that we heard from Registry and Science, the Foundation is leaning in sincerely and formally with Hylo as a process to socialize and to more informally govern the next steps in our process. And as part of this endowment or community staking DAO initiative that we have and we've been upholding for the last year, we're moving into the second round of it, which is the second cycle, the second iteration, where we're trying to formalize it as a protocol that has discrete steps. And so I'm not going to outline those discrete steps on this call, but I think probably on the next community call, I'm going to like lay out what I think the Regen Commons protocol, this process is going to look like. I didn't do it this time because I didn't want to overwhelm. But the first step is to look back before moving forward. And so if you would like to check out on our Mir a recent essay published by me from the vantage point of the program officer for the endowment, or the director of the endowment program last year, basically what happened with the CSDAO, what worked, what didn't work, what takeaways we can gather. And most likely by the beginning of next week, the Foundation will have its own up and running group on Hylo, and we're going to publish this and invite the first cohort of the community staking DAO, as well as the Regen community, to like reflect and weigh in on this. I don't think you can actually have a process unless there's a feedback loop that's informed. And this isn't meant to be objective, but really from the Foundation's perspective about what happened there. And yeah, the diagram begins to sort of show the challenges around more remote communities with lower tech literacy, interacting with a decentralized network that can deal with a high level of abstraction related to tools that are just out of the box or don't yet have UI UX, and sort of how does the CSDAO process unfold? I kind of take a deep dive on it. So I encourage you all to check it out. It's the first step in the protocol for cohort 2. You can step forward. The second part of that, which is active in this, I'm kind of giving teasers for it, is to revisit the qualification matrix, the sort of prioritization matrix we use to select different CSDAO candidates, and to amend those based off of the perspectives that we gained from the first round. And that will be the second public socialization process that we're going to implement on Hylo, is to discuss and review what are the terms and criteria through which a measure to ensure that the regenerative community owns and governs Regen Network. Like, how are we successful in that intention? And how can we codify what our intentions are through a set of qualifications and criteria that we operate around? It can't be based purely on hunch or on bias, but something which is formalized, and we want to revisit those terms. So that's the second round of socialization that's going to happen on Hylo in the next month, probably quite a bit sooner than that. Yeah, step forward. As part of that, we're working through this idea around how to make the right balance of DAO types, and how to support land-based, territory-based groups, what we might call bioregional DAOs, with more what I call guild DAOs, which are expertise or like domain specific, that are more affiliation-based rather than territory-based. And how can the interaction of those two be generative towards new kinds of methodologies and new kinds of partnerships and spinning up new projects? So we'll be discussing some of the frameworks with which community staking DAOs might be formed and how they might interact, because I think one of the core ideas for a long time in Regen Network has been around this idea of bioregionalism and bioregional hubs, and we're like trying to take that seriously as a part of a process. Next one, almost done, I think. Yeah, in light of some recent interactions that happened with members of the community, we're revisiting the code of conduct and plan to have that also be a social process. If you're not familiar with the code of conduct, it's not quite the same as a community agreement, but it's a set of terms around the language, the tone, and what the expectations are for our community in terms of how they interact with one another. And in some cases, probably within the community staking DAO community, we'll ask them to sign this as a sort of formalized agreement. And again, we're pushing this to Hylo as a larger discussion. And I think it's a really exciting and meaningful way for Regen Network to codify and formalize a kind of culture. And it's not just by prohibiting certain actions, but encouraging others. And so this code of conduct is also in the pipeline to be socialized through Hylo. All of this will also be matched on our Twitter. So we'll be like publishing publicly too during this process. Okay, and then last, there's a number of sort of like programs specifically that are around different kinds of DAOs and new sort of research spaces, research domains within regenerative DAOs. And this is a recent paper that's being authored by the Foundation and the Earth Law Center, primarily the director of the Earth Law Center named Grant Wilson, that looks at the possibility for economic and informatic primitives, basic functions around economy and information technology that could be added to the notion of legal personhood and the rights of nature movement. So how can open source climate finance systems like Regen Network interact with legal personhood and develop some novel frameworks to look at indigenous sovereignty or ecosystem funds, sovereign wealth funds, governance around common pool resources. And this is a really active area of research, and a lot of people that we talk to are really excited about this. And so we're focusing specifically on how Web3 and blockchain space and some of the functionality are within Web3 and decentralized space can build upon the legal personhood rights of nature movement, which there's a ton of opportunity for that to happen. And we're curious how that might integrate into some of the new methodologies and new projects that are being developed. Okay, I'm talking a lot. Thanks for listening. I think that's about it. Sarah, if you want to step one more forward. Oh yeah, stay updated with us. We have a separate Twitter handle if you didn't already know from the rest of Regen Network. All of the things I shared are basically meant to be motions that are going to be discussed publicly via Hylo and launched and sort of notified via Twitter. So you can either stay attuned to the Hylo, which I think will get a kind of good introduction with just like right after I stop talking. But we also have Twitter. And yeah, Howard, I hear you that we're better than Twitter. Howard wants us to know that we're better than Twitter, and I'm not going to disagree with that. That's why we're using Hylo, and we have options here. Cool. Thanks for listening. I'm Austin at Regen Foundation if you want to reach out to me directly.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. Does anybody have any quick questions for Austin before we jump into this Hylo presentation? I didn't realize that Hylo is also a foundation initiative. That is going to be very exciting. So much for our community.
I think you could say that one of the things that the community maybe largely on this call has looked at is like, we're looking for a governance and social space, like how we're saying boo Twitter, like that's not, he's not alone in that. That is from the ground up sort of with regenerative communities that can meet more familiar Web3 governance mechanisms and processes in the middle. And that seems like Taryn, the developer of Hylo, is also a community staking DAO. So it's like very much like developed in-house. And so we have this really cool opportunity to develop the social network in tandem with Science and Registry, like explicitly for Regen's needs. And that's amazing. So yeah, definitely one of the themes of this call is Hylo. Shout out to Hylo. Happy to answer other questions.
With that beautiful segue, actually, let's just jump right in.
I was wondering, do we want to take a minute to chat? Because we have a solid chunk of time left. So if people have questions about, especially about what Austin just shared before we jump into the demo, did anybody have anything?
Yeah, I just said a bunch of stuff. Happy to engage, or we can let a little awkward silence hang, because sometimes that's effective way to get questions.
Let's give everybody a minute. That was really great.
If I may, I'd like to offer an endorsement of stewardship and the direction the foundation is going with respect to the endowment program and the fruits of the patient participation among cohort 1 and the Regen Foundation leadership team, supported by a lot of the folks from the network. It's still a work in progress, but I think there is real value in this model. And I guess, Austin, the one thing that occurred to me in the presentation, just analogizing to the way we're thinking about culture and carbon trust, is to identify the milestones that represent proof of concept. Migrating to Hylo, I think, is such a milestone. And as we convene our cohort again, and as you think about the larger commons, it really helps to identify what we're trying to achieve at this stage to feel like we've moved on to a higher stage of maturity.
I mean, I think that's a fantastic point. I think part of that motivates the reflection of what has been successful to date in order to move forward. I think with regards to what could be seen as a very large challenge to support regenerative communities to own and govern the ledger or participate in this larger process, part of that is quite daunting. I think in drafting milestones that could be ambitions for the next cohort, we can look at what governance processes, what social dynamics happened so far, like what did go up on Commonwealth, how was it engaged, what was the significance of those things, and use those as sort of examples when we discuss with the subsequent cohort, like what are we trying to build capacity towards? What is our identity as a larger project? And like, what's the sort of role of the community staking down there? So one of the opportunities that the next cohort has is a whole year of Regen Network really running and operating and working through governance and seeing what that looks like. And so we are able to communicate with much more specificity, like examples that happened at this date that year, rather than a hypothetical thing. So we can talk about the recent discussion around NCT and it being on the allowed list and what assumptions are going on there. We can discuss Giselle's prompt around like, what is the role of a registry and integrity? Many of the other conversations that have already happened around like environmental stewardship circle and what's happening in the registry more broadly. So I would like to make the second round of this point back to these and revisit those conversations and even contribute to them actively, because we're not working in a vacuum and we have a lot still to engage. Like a lot has come up in the last year in terms of governance at Regen that we're still processing and working through. And I'm really excited to do that in specific measure. And just to say, Nana and Will are also here from the foundation, so you two are more than welcome to chime in if you like. But thanks for your reflections, Howard.
I don't think I have anything to add right now unless people had questions for me. But yeah, good to see everyone here.
I see that Ed has a question.
Hello, everybody. I'm wondering what the hook is or the win-win situation is to bring experts in soils and in what we're doing. A lot of those are either farmers or independent scientists that really have that kind of expertise, to bring them into Hylo to work out things and help with things. And so how do we create some interest to really get, those kind of people in, giving good feedback and good comments, make it not a social media platform, but a really creative, constructive platform? What are the ideas? Because we just haven't been able to get as much as I think is needed.
Thanks for that, Ed. Always appreciate your thoughtfulness. I, for one, think that that's going to take time. And for the second is take something quite tangible, like you're saying. And I think one example that's coming up is landing the Carbon Plus Grasslands methodology in public comment. And I think it affords us that that opportunity to bring in those experts and stewards, because the methodology has been around for a while. We've had a lot of folks involved in the process through expert review, through those trying to figure out if they can use the methodology. We have a lot of groups and partners that we're connected to and have talked with. So I imagine that that's going to be a really good time here in the next weeks and months to make particular invites to those folks to participate in that public comment, that being the first of many opportunities for them to be involved. I do think that the public comment discussion is probably the most present tense way for them to do that. But the idea being that within the methodology topical areas, that you have a really mixed group of folks in each, where you might have those that are pretty advanced in their methodology development and pulling in various technical experts or producers, as well as those early and trying to learn and observe. So what I think we hope is that over time, there will be magnetism around those groups that's born from the doers themselves in those groups, saying, you know, this is we need this particular insight on soil. So like, let's find some folks and invite them in to this targeted discussion. So a takeaway at this point has been to bring people in with a particular ask in mind. And then from there, let the community kind of evolve and speak for itself. How do you feel about that, Ed?
I guess the thing is that, like in grazing, there's an incredible amount of understanding and methodologies well beyond, and testings and things that are well beyond anything I've heard anywhere in refi. So they already have all that, much more advanced, I think, than we are. So I mean, they'd be coming in and just saying, well, this is how we do it. And they'd have to be rather long. We'd have to make sure that people presently in the situation understand functionings of soils and grasslands and different plant reactions and all that at the level that they'd be speaking. I mean, that's been a general problem, is that the farmers and the leading farmers and the scientists, you know, they work pretty much what we call underground because, you know, that's the way they've done it for many years. I mean, academia and other things haven't been all that interested. We access some information from that, but I mean, that a lot of that's, it's just a matter of then tailoring what they already do to the needs of refi for their marketplace or whatever criteria they want to use. That would be all that would need that translation, but they have the expertise and knowledge, and they have needs to help. You know, there could be win-win situations that I see that would make them want to come in, but it's probably not, and that's in helping for giving better communication platforms and things. I've talked to Gregory about it and stuff, and I mean, that would be useful. And I think access to the marketplace, because they're working on carbon intensity scores, which is going to need a marketplace. So there's win-wins we could set up, but as far as coming in and learning, I don't know how much learning they'd be doing. They'd be mostly, probably 98%, they'd be teaching and reestablishing an understanding of really what you're trying to do.
Hear that. Yeah, Ed, this is where I like to think of our relationship with refi, you know, that we are, in one sense, we're leaders in refi, but we also sit in a very grounded place within that movement where we're doing the work and we're working with people that are boots on the ground. This reminds me, though, you know, an effort that Ned is quietly leading also, and that we've put collective thought around, is a DSci group, a decentralized science group, because we do know that there are a lot of academics that are fed up or they're just interested in doing more applied work. So I think that there's also a stream there where involvement looks really likely and really important and critical for, for this work. I feel like there are a couple of different avenues. I feel like we're heading in a good direction, but keep generating those ideas of specific ways to bring those folks in, because I entirely agree they're really crucial to this work, and we're not needing to figure out everything from scratch. There's just a lot of knowledge already there. Thanks so much, Ed. Other questions or reflections before we hop in? All right, interrupt if need be. So I'm going to be walking anybody here through Hylo who has not hopped in. This is a chance to get situated in Regen Registry Hylo. And as Austin shared, and as we've talked about, we do have a theme right now. There is a lot of a collective energy around meeting together, around socializing ideas, around governing different standards, and making connections across barriers, across Web 2, Web 3, and certainly across the globe. So all of this platform usage has that intentionality in mind. If you have already gotten into Hylo, then you can use this as an opportunity to think about what improvements and feedback you would offer to its use and our use of it. So for now, for anyone who has not gotten into Hylo yet, you can click the link in chat, and that's your invite link to get into Regen Registry. And it'll be a prompt to log in, and you can get logged in how you feel most comfortable, and then add what information you'd like to add. Adding your location or bioregion is really awesome, because then you can start to see who else is in your bioregion. We have a nice map that's growing and evolving where we can really see the extent of the community. It's pretty powerful. So adding a bioregion, if you're comfortable, is really great. And if you already have an account, feel free to go in and add something new, add something maybe about a qualification that you have or an interest that you have in your profile. All of that kind of helps as people are looking at the different members that are involved, or they're maybe seeking out particular support or questions. So taking a minute going through that. And once we go through a couple of these short exercises, we're going to do a quick Zoom live poll, and we're going to try to do these kinds of things more often so we can get feedback and hear from folks using this stuff. So we'll shift to the next slide and make sure everybody's kind of getting situated with logins. If anyone has any questions, pop them in chat and we can troubleshoot them as we go. The next thing we're going to do is join a group within Regen Registry. So if you look on the sidebar, I'll share my screen for a minute. If you look on the sidebar within Regen Registry, you can go to groups, and it has just this lovely web of evolving groups, and you can even see on the back end some ideas that we have, some hidden test groups around a directory and some other things that are coming. But you can click to join a group. So I invite you to select one that interests you or that you're curious about, and go ahead and join that group. And when you do, that group, their announcements, their posts will also show up in Regen Registry and in your mainstream. So hope that you find one that's of interest to you. And again, the groups with the colored icons are the methodology topical areas, and some of those are more evolved than others. And then the black and white icons are registry program dedicated ones, the guide discussion and public comment discussion. And you can join all the groups. You can join just a few of them. There's certainly plenty of room for everybody. And when you post things within one of the child groups, you can also choose to post them in the main registry group. So there's a lovely weaving of nested groups within the design of Hylo. So I hope you enjoy that. So hopefully you've gotten in a group, found something that is of interest to you, and then we'll shift to the next slide. And to create a post. And if you don't feel comfortable actually creating a post, this is mainly for you to just experience it. In the left-hand corner, sorry, Siri, I'm going to shift screen share one more time. On the left-hand toolbar at the very top where it says create, there's a lot of different things that one can create. The discussion, I think, will probably be the most common, but we'll begin experimenting more with making requests. So I have this need, they're a technical expert, I have an offer, I have a resource, like an article or a guide, sharing events. We fully welcome community members to share what events are happening. And then, so you can click one of those to experiment with. And you can kind of see what options you have aside from the title and the description. You can use different topics. You can give it a photo or a link. And as I said, you can choose another group. Maybe you want to post it in Regen Registry and Agroforestry. You can start to just play around with what gets posted where. So take a minute to explore that functionality around things that you can create. I think I get really excited about the prospect of sharing resources because there are so many out there in the world. And instead of creating new ones all the time, being able to share ones that already exist, I think are a really beautiful way for our community to support each other. So feel out that for a moment. And again, if anyone has any questions, please drop them in chat. And then from there, just want to ask a few brief questions about your experience. And if you've already used Hylo, I think that some of them still apply. So answer them as is most relevant to you. So we'll just take a minute and act like there's music playing and answer some questions. And I'll say too, for all of the rest of the Regen team that is on this call, that you all are most welcome to be involved and observe and join these groups. Happy to have the rest of the team, even if you're not actively involved in registry science or foundation work, happy to have you in these groups also. Cool. Well, folks can take their time wrapping up. That was pretty swift. So we have a few minutes if anyone has any feedback that they'd like to share now or reflections they'd like to share now on this or anything else that we've talked about today. Happy to entertain those.
What's your favorite feature of Hylo, like that you've gotten to use so far? What's something that's like made you feel really excited about the platform?
The curated side views. So within the sidebar, we were working with Taryn pretty closely when developing out some new features. And so you can go in and create these specific side views for the group. So each group can have different ones that link out to important things. So for environmental stewardship, like Ned was saying, their group, which has the most members, this was our first group, they can populate custom views here that are relevant to their community. So it can really be tailored to whatever that community might want. I think my favorite, most exciting forthcoming functionality is around different voting potentials. I think given how soon we're going to be having credit classes land for network-wide governance and needing to have support our community in participating in those. We want to have plenty of opportunities to vote and exercise those voting muscles and vocalizing feedback. So I think that that'll be really supportive to our community. That excites me a lot. And Tika and Ned have also used Hylo. So if you guys have anything you want to share about stuff you enjoy or don't enjoy, feel free to.
Looking at some of these poll results, it looks like there may have been some confusion about finding members from a specific location, or one of the questions was find a member who likes public speaking. Do you think you could show us that functionality before we go?
Definitely. I love it. Public speaking, that would be helpful. So why don't we go into, we'll go into the registry group. And one of the things about as this space evolves is that there will be more of an ability, I think, to, well, there'll be more folks and I think more of an expectation of sharing skills or credentials or locations. So this will be, I think, more searchable and could even evolve into, like Christian, put Christian on the spot. He's got some great tags set up. He's got his location, sharing a lot more about yourself. So I feel like that really helps in identifying different members and what they might do. The other way to find that is within maps. And you have to really scale out from where I am in Tennessee, there I am, to start to find members this way by location, which is a pretty cool way to find members. This doesn't help you with public speaking, but it does help you find folks that might be within your region. I'm part of the work also is creating like best practices around Hylo, and this is something that we would like to see come from the community or co-designed with the community instead of just from our internal team. And I would imagine that part of that would be best practices around creating a profile and why we share our skills or why we share our location. So those are things that I think will improve a lot as we go. Any other curious ones? Or even just from the group, I even see, Brenno, I know that you guys with Econavi, you guys shared your concept note is a great use case for Hylo. How did that feel for you sharing that there?
Yeah, so I think in the past 2 months or something, we started a topic in the Environmental Stewardship group. And we presented a doc that we have been working for a methodology. So also anyone who is in the call who would like to give some comments there in our paper. This morning, we presented it in the Environmental Stewardship call, a bit more on the path that we are building for our tokenomics. And it's been cool to experience Hylo. It was a good explanation today. I got to know a bit more tools that I didn't know that were there. So it's always good to have this kind of following navigation. And yeah, we are enjoying, we are sharing our work there, and we are happy to get feedbacks and keep exploring the tools and the community in Hylo.
Thanks, Bruno. Appreciate you, Joanne.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thoughts around Hylo, Tika, Ned? Anything else?
It looked like Howard in the chat was looking for some guidance on preparing a profile. We still got a couple minutes left. Do you want to show us how to edit a profile?
Let's do it. Let's do it, Howard. Let's get in profile world, which is funny because I have not done a good job with my own profile. So shame on me for recommending to have a good profile. Okay, so if you go up to the upper right-hand corner, you'll see where you can click profile. And you have the opportunity to add a lot of different things to it and see what you're a moderator of or what you're active in. But then you click on these three dots here where you can edit your profile. You can give yourself a tagline. I would love to read your tagline, Howard. I feel like that would be a really awesome one. Share some things about yourself. And this is, I think, the area where there's the most opportunity for us to all work around is the skills and interests or skills that you want to learn. The contact information is for anyone who wants to, if people feel safe and comfortable. I don't think that I would recommend it at this early time, simply because we aren't going to kind of take ownership of all of that quite yet. So I think I would keep it to tagline, about me, your bioregion, and skills and interests. And if you want to add links to other places to connect, especially Howard, with your love of Twitter, probably put your Twitter link in there. So that could be a nice thing to add, but I probably just emphasize these first couple of sections. And then when you're editing your profile, you can go into some other related things like the different groups and affiliations, the different places where you might have some invite requests and different notifications. So I hope that helped. Howard, did that help you with profiles?
It does. I was over there. I didn't see any pull down, so I guess you just there's no kind of common things for interest for that. So you just put in your own words. We're not trying to get consistency there.
Right. I guess that could be something that we could do over time. That would be really interesting to do, to create more of the kind of community tagging around roles and things like that. But for now, it looks like you're on your own. So your best words are welcome.
And we can then, as you were showing us on the within the profile, link to the groups and be able to identify that way.
Yeah, it's another nice way to see your groups. The easiest is probably to go into this sidebar, just clicking these three lines at the top left corner, and then you'll see all of them. And one of our items of feedback have been to have the nested groups showing up under. So if you had Regen Registry, you would see all the nested groups, because you see I'm in like a child development and education group that's just kind of mixed into everything else. So I think that's room for improvement for the platform, but that's an easy way to find the groups that you're in.
Or to join groups.
Exactly.
That automatically populates, and this is a way to survey where your interests might lie, to connect and to identify interests.
Right. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Helps things.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate everybody's time, spending some time in Hylo and getting comfortable with it. And I hope that it serves us all in our growing community. Thanks, everybody. And thanks, Sari.
Yeah, thank you guys. All right. Yeah. See you guys in 2 weeks for protocol and product. So have a good rest of your week.